Let me paint you a picture. It's the early 90s in Los Angeles, California. You're stopping by the bank on the way home from work and you're really hoping to beat that Friday LA rush hour. Just as you're about to step up to the teller's counter, your transaction is cut short by a group of men in rubber president's masks. They're swinging guns all over the lobby. This bank is being robbed. By Patrick Swayze.
Rock and roll.
Folks, Point Break is more than a bona fide classic, and there's more to it than explosions and gunfights. Point Break is one of my favorite movies. And in case you haven't seen it and I haven't sold you on it this far, the movie also features Keanu Reeves jumping out of a charter plane with a loaded pistol and no parachute. So.
God damn, you are one radical son of a bitch.
This movie on the surface is a buddy action thriller about the most extreme game of cops and robbers that you could possibly imagine. But seeing as its influence has spanned from the iconic first installment of the Fast and the Furious mega franchise to the extremely disappointing 2015 remake, which I'm still recovering from, I figured there's got to be something more to this movie that makes me and everyone else I know cherish it so damn much. It's a story that packs a lot of relatable themes like friendship, love, loyalty, and sacrifice, and it is indeed a real Blue Flame special.
Hey, you're a real Blue Flame special, aren't you, son? Young, dumb, and full of cum. I know.
And what I need to know is, what's Point Break really about? Point Break, directed by Kathryn Bigelow and written by W. Peter Liff, is the story of Johnny Utah, played by Keanu Reeves, a newly minted hotshot agent who's just arrived in Los Angeles and has been assigned to help his wacky conspiracy theorist partner Angelo, played by Gary Busey, to track down and arrest a band of LA bank robbers called the Ex-Presidents, who he believes are local surfers.
Look at the tan line on this guy.
Oh, well, he must be a surfer.
Well, yeah.
When Johnny goes undercover and tries to earn his way into the unwelcoming community of local surfing, his limits will be put to the test as the group's leader, Bodie, played by Patrick Swayze, takes Johnny to the edge to gain his loyalty and teach him about the spiritual side of his philosophy.
They only live to get radical. They don't have any real understanding of the sea, so they'll never get the spiritual side of it.
This will cause relationships to form, be tested, and even shatter in some cases, as Johnny battles between his obsession with catching Bodie and his equally as important love and respect for his new family.
You're doing good.
I love this movie so much and for so many different reasons, and some of those reasons don't have anything to do with the themes that we're going to be analyzing today. But seeing as I don't know when I'll get the chance to make another video about Point Break, let me just take you through my top 5 favorite things about this movie. Here we go. Number 5, Gary Busey.
I was in this bureau when you were still popping zits on your funny face and jacking off to the lingerie section of the Sears catalog.
Is that right, Pappas?
Yes, that's right, Harv.
I can't overstate how much I love Gary Busey in this movie as Angelo Pappas. The scene where he's telling Johnny to get him the meatball sandwiches for lunch at 10:30 in the morning is iconic to me.
Right around that corner, there is a sandwich shop. They sell meatball sandwiches. Best I've ever tasted. Would you go get me two?
Number 4, Johnny and Bodie fighting the locals.
I know. This is where you tell me all about how locals rule and yuppie insects like me shouldn't be surfing the break and all that, right?
This scene is all the way Keanu, and I love that. We see 2 tan dudes beating up 4 more tan dudes, and it gets me jacked up every single time.
Back off, war child, seriously.
Number 3, this line from Keanu Reeves.
Buddy, this is your fucking wake-up call, man! I am an FBI agent!
Number 2, Patrick Swayze's performance, which in my opinion is the best performance he ever gave.
Okay, man. Okay. I'm screwed. I'm gonna go to jail, and I'll pay, and Johnny Utah gets his guy. Right? Good for you. That's real good. Gonna be a big hero now.
And number 1, the stunt work and cinematography. If nothing else, you'll want to watch this movie for the incredible action and even more incredible cinematography, the way they show you the action. Watch the scene where Reeves skydives without a parachute and tell me how good it looks. And also how real that all seems. Okay, now let's dissect this baby.
You know nothing. In fact, you know less than nothing. If you even knew that you knew nothing, that'd be something, but you don't.
Yes, sir.
Now, this movie really gives you a bit of everything, which ultimately I think is part of why it's such a classic. The characters are interesting, the pacing is strong and it feels swift yet full, and the action in this movie is awesome. I'm not just talking about the fistfights and the pew-pew stuff, but the shots of the crew surfing or skydiving or even playing a game of football on the beach. They all bring you firmly into the company of these ragtag local surf lords. We get seduced into their world, just like Johnny does. So let's talk about the first thing that I want to break down: the good guy's character arc and how it's influenced by the bad guy's motivation.
Does either one of you have anything even remotely interesting to tell me?
Caught my first tube this morning.
When the movie introduces us to Johnny Utah, he's a youthful, confident, semi-reckless, but ultimately fearless new FBI agent. Johnny wants to be the best cop that he can be, and he's got a bit of an attitude about it. He's the young bull in the precinct who has yet to earn any respect from his superiors or his peers. And as a result, he gets partnered up with Angelo Papas, an old head kind of seasoned agent who's frequently criticized by his coworkers for his wild theories and long-running goose chase for the surfing bandits. When Johnny goes undercover, he's immediately putting that confidence and charm to use as he meets a spunky and sexy surfer named Tyler, played by Lori Petty, and he convinces her to give him surfing lessons. Johnny's entire plan goes into the unexpected territory as he, of course, falls in love with Tyler and the circle of friends that she introduces him to.
Hope you're not buying into this bonsai bullshit like the rest of Bodhi's movies.
There's a scene midway through the movie when Johnny hits the point of beginning to question his original mission.
Is this not the best feeling on earth? Yeah!
See, Johnny realizes two things in this moment. He realizes that his drive to find the ultimate rush is what really makes him tick. After he rides his first real wave, he feels what it's like to be alive and fully embrace the ride. He's motivated by that fire in his belly, and with that, he also realizes that he and the man he's hunting may not be all that different after all.
I can't do this.
Sure you can. Who knows, you might like it. It's a killer rush.
Bodhi is the leader of the crew, and we will definitely be talking more about him soon, but at a high level, he's motivated by one thing: freedom. The spiritual side of surfing that Bodhi waxes poetic about throughout the film is his way of explaining that the only thing that matters to him is living in absolute peace and being free to do it the way that he wants, not the way that the world wants. Both Johnny and Bodhi believe in this idea, just to different ends. Johnny may be questioning his loyalty, but he's also not about to compromise his mission. So to reconcile the two, Johnny seeks to convince himself that he's doing the right thing, but he's also moving towards telling Tyler the truth as their relationship begins to get more serious. But before he can do that, he's tossed in the middle of a rock and a hard place as the gang suits up as the ex-presidents and hits a bank while Johnny and Angelo are on a stakeout. This causes Johnny to confront his BFFs as an FBI agent and completely blow his cover, before going on an exhausting foot chase with Ronald Reagan himself. But when Johnny finally gets his chance to nab his guy, he chokes and can't pull the trigger. When he looks into the eyes of his best friend, he just knows that he can't shoot. These guys are not just kindred spirits anymore. They're brothers. Johnny's arc continues through the end after he makes one final confrontation with Bodhi, only to catch him and bring him to justice in his own way. Bodhi and his crew had robbed 30 banks, kidnapped Johnny's girlfriend, killed his partner, and ruined his career, and Johnny still lets him go the way that he always wanted, riding the largest break in history before surrendering himself to the ocean and dying at sea. It's only then that Johnny tosses his badge into the ocean and lets his past career die with his friend and enemy. Now, to say that this ending is perfectly satisfying is definitely an understatement, and what I take away after each viewing is that Bigelow and Liff made this film to not only suit their previous work on blockbuster action thrillers, but also to say that why you do something is equally as important as what you do. Which reminds me, check out our episode on Nightcrawler, which dabbles in some of these same themes as well.
I guess we just must have ourselves an asshole shortage, huh?
See, Johnny's goal at first is to catch the bad guy and be the hero, but by the end, he was only interested in catching the bad guy if he could do it by respecting the code among his fellow surfers. There's like a loyalty to his backstabbing that makes everything snap into focus. Life is messy, relationships are messy, and sometimes the idea of right and wrong can be messy. Right and wrong isn't as simple as black and white when you take into account the why of it all, and as such, the bad guys are only bad if the good guy thinks they are. But our good guy doesn't. Now, why do I think this? Well, in the scene I mentioned earlier when Johnny rides his first wave, he kind of lingers behind the crew when they leave to ride out the rush that he's experiencing. Tyler hangs back with him and offers some interesting dialogue.
Well, usually you have this intense sort of scowl, concentration on your face, like you're doing all this for a school project or something. Or like you've got something driving you. Look at it. It's gone.
To Tyler, she's just saying that he looks relaxed. To Johnny, she's saying that he's found something that he wants more than catching a bank robber. He wants to feel something real. What about in the scene where Bodhi forces Utah to rob a bank with them? There's a shot after the shots ring out where Bodhi, who we know does not like violence, is forced to shoot a hostage who is actually an undercover cop with a blicky of his own. You can see that he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to have to use a gun to get through the bank, but he has to. He's got people counting on him. He's got goals of his own. What he's doing is still less important than why he's doing it. He wants to live for the rush of chasing waves and seeking adrenaline. But that kind of thing costs money, and he wants what he wants so badly that he'll do things he doesn't want to do in order to get those things. But Johnny would never do that, and that's really the difference between the two. Bodhi probably wouldn't have hesitated to shoot Johnny the way that Johnny hesitates. He loves Johnny, but he wants what he wants, period. Johnny also wants what he wants, but he's not willing to compromise his own morals to get there. But in the end, who really wins? I mean, Bodhi dies, but that's kind of his happy ending as stated earlier in the film. And Johnny doesn't exactly walk away unscathed. He may have ended up with Tyler, but he also lost his partner, his best friend, and his sense of pride in his career that he worked so hard for. So really, nobody wins. And surprisingly, crime doesn't pay. But everybody learns the ultimate lesson, which as we know now is that life and everything in it is a constant overlap of ideas and choices that may highlight or darken your every moral belief. But the only way through it is to try to do the right thing anyway.
Are you through, Mr. Wizard?
Okay, look, I admit, maybe it is a bit of a stretch to say that this incredibly fun action thriller is somehow some huge grand metaphor for the complexities of relationships between people and how those things can affect our goals and our behavior. But also, maybe that's exactly what this is. But what's more important is what you think. So leave a comment down below. What do you think Point Break is really about? Or just tell me if you love it, or if you don't love it, tell me exactly how that's possible. Of course, make sure you like the video if you liked it and subscribe for the very best in movie content. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye. Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some. Ocean's 11 is the best heist film ever made. Let me explain. Say you're fresh out the slammer, you need money, and the only job prospects you have involve running back to the very lifestyle that got you locked up to begin with. Oh, and did I mention your wife also ran off with a rich casino owner?
You know what your problem is?
I only have one.
You've met too many people like you. I'm with Terry now.
Yeah, instant conflict, anyone?
I know everything that's happening in my hotels.
So I should put those towels back.
Now, in a situation like this, there's only one thing you can do really, and that's round up the old crew for a job that promises to be properly epic, high stakes, literally, and of course perfectly stupid enough to get your friends excited about tagging along.
Yeah, well, say we do all that. We're just supposed to walk out of there with $150 million in cash on us without getting stopped?
Yeah.
So, if you're looking to dive into the vault of cinematic treasures that is Ocean's 11, or as I call it, the greatest heist movie ever made, then let's get into it. Ocean's 11 is the 2001 remake of the Rat Pack-led 60s original. That version is a real sleeper, as in I cannot keep my eyes open when I watch it.
So I'll turn that off, will you?
I'll turn it off when I'm ready to turn it off. It's off, it's off.
This film is directed by iconic minimalist filmmaker Steven Soderbergh and stars one of the greatest all-star lineup casts I've ever seen.
Yes, would you like some tickets?
In the film, Danny Ocean has just been released from prison after serving a sentence for high thievery. Once out, he immediately heads to Las Vegas to begin plotting a simultaneous heist job and revenge scheme to spite his ex-wife's new boyfriend, Terry Benedict, played by Andy Garcia.
Who the hell is this?
The man who's robbing you?
The plan is simple: assemble a crew big enough to pull off the job, and then knock off 3 casinos in one night in the most secure public area in the western United States without getting caught, and then make it out of Vegas scot-free and millions of dollars richer. Sounds easy enough, yeah? Well, did I mention that we're also up against a very short clock to pull this off, so the pressure's on.
It's never been done before. So need planning, a large crew.
Danny starts by recruiting the members of his crew that he knows will join him, and for this story, that's Rusty, played by Brad Pitt.
I'm running away with your wife. Great.
Rusty is mostly retired from the life of crime and is now giving poker lessons to celebrities and largely avoiding any real responsibilities. But he does have big hopes, and Danny's offer just may be big enough to get him on board.
A lot of security, but the take. What's the target? 8 figures each. What's the target?
About 1/3 of this film is dedicated to building the team and introducing us to the characters, and in a heist movie, that can be half of the fun if the story is done correctly, like it is in this movie. With every new recruit, we naturally learn a little bit about the characters, where they're from, where they're at, where they want to go, and what they're like.
think you dig Provo. I think you could do very well there.
I'll look into it.
We get the iconic Bernie Mac as Frank, R.I.P., and Casey Affleck and Scott Caan as the Malloy brothers, Elliot Gould as Ruben, the guy funding the whole operation, and then there's Tan, the grease man,
We got a grease man. We got a grease man.
Basher the bomb tech, and who could forget Carl Reiner as Saul Bloom.
If you ever ask me that question again, Daniel, you will not wake up the following morning.
They want to rip off the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand, all in one night at an event that will see these three casinos potentially paying out high-stakes gamblers. We're talking buku bucks. All the money will be stored in one vault with 360-degree security detail. Ocean and his team need to spread out and establish a way in, through the vault and out of the vault, and then back out of the casino and Vegas before anybody can figure out what happened. Of course, in true heist film fashion, we're in for a twist element to the job that layers the entire thing, and not to mention the heist itself, which is plagued with failures and the need to adapt.
And for God's sake, whatever you do, don't, under any circumstance.
Russ,
Yeah,
can you take a look at this?
sure.
Capturing the excitement of a heist can also be tricky. While films like Heat can be considered among the greatest in the genre, the movie is aided by the addition of incredible action scenes that this film doesn't have, although it's not without its explosions.
Hang on to your knickers.
Instead, Soderbergh shows us the exciting world of white-collar crime with his quick editing techniques, kinetic camera movement, and retro cinematic language that harkens back to the thrillers and adventure films of the 60s. It's visually inspiring and holds a very special place in the heart of my inner filmmaker. The slick directing is also complemented very well by the equally sharp performances from the cast. Clooney acts as the perfect, charming leading man with suave dialogue, a winning smile, and enough mojo to put Austin Powers to shame.
I have his mojo.
Pitt and Clooney have an amazing on-screen chemistry that feels unmatched by any of the co-stars that have shared the screen with either actor.
Why do they always paint hallways that color? They say taupe is very soothing.
The way the two have this balance of boss and employee and brothers and mentor and Padawan or whatever, it seems like these two really understood the importance of the core relationship between Danny and Rusty, and it works.
This is not your call. Oh, you made it my call. When you put her before us, you made it mine. This is my job.
On his own, Rusty is a bit of a young playboy type, and he's also incredibly skilled at what he does, and a wonderful character for us to get attached to. The scene where Rusty pretends to be an FBI agent to abduct Basher from a crime scene during an arrest is a great moment to showcase how slick and swift these guys are.
It's terrific. It'll be nice working with proper villains again.
Also, while we're on the topic, I love Don Cheadle. All right, I adore Don Cheadle. But the British accent was a bit much, no?
Oh, leave it out.
I also love the individual moments where the crew is working on their own angles and we see the difference between how people shine in different ways. Frank gets what he wants by intimidation, Linus plays the awkward angle and strikes without you noticing, Danny plays the confident, walk in like I own the place thing, and everyone else mostly just creates a scene.
You got in my way! I was trying to deliver my balloons!
Gentlemen!
He's a balloon boy!
So, knowing what we know, what qualifies this as the best heist movie? Well, at the time of its release, it had every single element that we as an audience look forward to in a good old-fashioned Hollywood blockbuster. This was an exciting film for the time, and if you notice the few great heist films since this one, they almost all got at least some inspiration from this one. It takes the concept just serious enough to sell it, but is also self-aware and irreverent enough to make the reality seem a little heightened. Like off the top of my head, as an example, we're able to kind of believe that Danny and his crew can build a 1-to-1 replica of the Bellagio vault and stage it so that it perfectly matches the feed on the security cameras. I mean, I did say heightened reality, didn't I?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the twist too much here, but all great heist movies need some sort of double cross or surprise third element to it that shocks audiences along with the characters. It helps keep the payoff nice and satisfying. This film does not disappoint, with audiences thinking one thing and then by the end being relieved by a twist that reveals that everything went exactly according to plan. Honestly, it's still satisfying to this day. And it's what, like 25 years later? Holy shit.
What happened to all that money?
At the end of the day, Ocean's 11 uses stylized editing and cinematography to bring us into the excitement of a larger-than-life mission that we all fantasize about. And it does so with incredible performances, witty dialogue, interesting characters, high stakes, and of course, a good time at the movies.
I knew what I was doing.
Also, I'm fully aware that it is a completely polarizing statement to make, so if it's not your favorite heist movie, don't get too excited, just leave a comment down below and let me know what your favorite heist movie is. And we can still be friends, I promise. Well guys, if you like this video and want to support the show, please do drop a like on it and share it with your friends who like this sort of content. Also, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing coverage on Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13 so that we can get the full trilogy on our hands. Could be fun.
Okay. You're free to go.